Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Historical Conspiracies. Today we're going to do a story time with me, Kardia. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee or tea or water or whatever makes you happy, and let's check this creepy story out. We found the story on Reddit, nosleep, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. It was posted by Evelyn Bertrand, and it was only a couple of days ago, so definitely brand new and really, really scary. Well, you're pretty much going to get that from the title. It's called I Am Pretty Sure My Niece is Trying to Kill Me. So, what's going to follow is my narration of the post. So, enjoy. Here's the thing, I love kids. I love being around them, playing with them, watching them learn new things. I even used to work as a nanny during college to help make the ends meet. But I have never, ever wanted children of my own. I don't know why I don't want kids. I just never did. My husband's the same way. We assumed when we first got married that maybe we'd want kids at some point, but 12 years later, things still haven't changed. We have great jobs and we travel a lot and we're happy. Kids just don't fit into our equation. My twin sister, on the other hand, has always wanted kids. Cassie had my niece, Audrey, the same year my husband and I got married. She was thrilled even though the pregnancy wasn't planned and she wasn't married to Audrey's father. She didn't even think it was possible for her to get pregnant. Her doctor told her that she would never conceive, but even if she did, it would end in miscarriage. Cut 2 years later, after that conversation, and Cassie gives birth to a beautiful, healthy baby girl. She named her Audrey, after the actress Audrey Hepburn, and it fits her. She's got dark hair, has always been slim for her age, and for having those dark blue eyes, she could easily pass for one of Audrey Hepburn's descendants. 36 hours of labor and Cassie nearly dying, and out comes this beautiful little girl, healthy as can be. Even though it took Cassie a year to fully recover from birth, I'd never seen her so happy and feeling so grateful that her prayers were answered for a child. But Audrey's miraculous birth isn't the subject of the story. I wish it was. No, it's about the fact that this kid's trying to kill me. Before I get to what's been happening in the last 2 weeks, let me give you the rundown of Audrey. Audrey is not an exceptional child. She's normal, a little mature for her age, but nothing crazy. She started talking at a year old, potty trained within 20 months, and so on. She was rarely sick as a baby, and she was always a mama's girl, but that's to be expected. Cassie never married Audrey's father, and we're not sure where he is anyway, so. Audrey didn't start changing until about a year ago, right around her 10th birthday. I've been around her since she was born, so I noticed right away the changes. My husband didn't until I pointed out what was going on at my sister's house. You see, my sister is the kind of person who watches paranormal stories on YouTube. She's been into ghosts and Ouija boards and everything like that since we were kids. She binges them when Audrey's asleep, and usually when I call her, she's watching one. Right before Audrey's 10th birthday, Cassie bought an old Ouija board. I know. What the hell was she thinking, right? That was my first question. But Cassie lives in a really old house right outside of town. Some weird stuff has been happening. She thought our house was haunted, and she thought using a Ouija board would help her figure it out. I guess I should have told her what happened the time I used one, but that's for a different story. So Cassie buys this Ouija board and uses it, and you guessed it, Audrey was at home, asleep. I called her the day after she used it, and she complained that nothing had happened. She thought maybe she'd done it wrong and asked me if I wanted to give it a try with her. I told her, no thank you, and she shouldn't be playing it with Audrey in the house. She then told me she'd throw it away when she went to the work because even though nothing happened, she was creeped out by having the board in the house. That week, I dropped by to take care of Audrey, and Cassie went on a date with a new boyfriend. Trent. I think that's what his name was. Audrey didn't seem fond of him, and to my surprise she told him that to his face. She also said that if he hurt her mommy, the man that lived in her attic would make sure that Trent was very sorry. Cassie and Trent left before she could say anything, and to be honest, I don't blame them. The night was relatively normal right up until Audrey brought me the Ouija board as we were setting down to watch a Disney movie. Honey, where did you get this? I asked her as she pulled out the planchette. Out of the trash, she said, shrugging. Well, I don't think we should play with this, I said, taking the planchette out of her hand. It's not safe. Mommy played with it. But Mommy shouldn't have, I said, taking the board and planchette outside and locking them in the trunk of my car. And that should have been that. But it wasn't. I put Audrey to sleep after the movie, and while she'd been a little upset about the board, she had calmed down by the time the movie had finished. Auntie Rose? Yes, sweetheart. I sat on the edge of her bed and looked at her. Do you hate kids? What? No. I was shocked by the question. Audrey was a naturally curious child, so the question was out of character for her. Who told you that? No one, she said after a long silence. Well, the board told me. The board? Yeah, Mommy says it doesn't work, but it's not meant for grown-ups. It's meant for kids, she said, turning over. Well, that's wrong. I love kids, I said. But as soon as I finished my sentence, I could hear her snoring. As I left her room, I remember saying, "What a weirdo," which was probably my first mistake. When Cassie got home, I told her what Audrey said to me. Cassie was a little concerned that the Ouija board got back in the house because she told me she'd thrown it away at work. I showed her that I'd taken the board and put it in my car. That's when Cassie's face went pale. That's not the same board, she said, looking at my trunk. She looked at me. I bought one at the store, the traditional kind, you know. This looks homemade. That freaked me out a little bit, but I told her not to worry about it, that I'd throw it away on my way home. She just nodded and went back inside. As I got in my car, I could see Audrey in the second-floor window of her room. She waved at me, and I waved back, then made my way home. I could write a million words about how weird the car accident I got into was, but I don't have space, so let me just summarize it. I was on the highway, heading home, when I got to my exit. I had crossed over the bridge to head to my neighborhood. I eased off the accelerator so I could slow down, but the car sped up. I slammed on the brakes, and it didn't work at all. I didn't have time to react as my car veered into traffic and slammed into the side of the bridge. Somehow, my car managed to jump the barrier and end up back on the highway. The impact should have killed me, and even then the massive car pileup that happened after should have killed me, but neither did. Instead, I suffered a few broken ribs and a dislocated shoulder I ended up having to get surgery on. At the hospital, my husband showed up and was just as confused as I was on how the whole thing happened. After the police and the insurance agency finished their respective investigations later that week, they found that my brake lines and my steering column had been tampered with. They just didn't know who did it. And then Cassie came to see me at home. She looked really upset, and when I asked her what was wrong, she pulled out a Ziploc bag and handed it to me. I found this in Audrey's room when I was cleaning up, she said quietly. Inside the Ziploc bag were a pair of scissors, a bottle of clear liquid, wire cutters, blue and red wires. Also in the bag was a drawing done by Audrey's own hand. I have them on my fridge and I can tell it was her work. That showed me lying beside my car, covered in red crayon. I know it's blood, but it's hard to admit, you know. I was freaked the hell out for sure, but I mean, she was turning 10. She's still a kid. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. So I asked Cassie if she'd talked to Audrey about it. She said that she had, but that Audrey had told her that the man in the attic did it for calling her a weirdo. Cassie was so upset that I didn't bother asking more questions. She just said that Audrey had been, at that point, acting a little weird. She had been sleepwalking out to the attic. She was a little withdrawn. She wasn't playing with her friends as often as she had once before. Cassie was really worried. So I told her to take Audrey to a shrink. I told her that obviously I couldn't be her psychologist. I'm a neuropsychiatrist, but I specialize in psychopaths, not a great fit for 10-year-olds. but I did give a great referral. Cassie took her, and for a while it worked. A few months passed, and I was busy at work, going to conferences, and my husband and I spent 3 months in Europe, so I didn't get to see Cassie and Audrey until just 3 months ago. By the time Harry and I saw Audrey again, the change was remarkable. I mean, I knew things were changing. Cassie and I kept up even though I was busy. Audrey wasn't as withdrawn, but their house was still haunted. It got so bad that they ended up moving closer to us, into a big house just a few streets over. When I walked into the house the first time since getting back from our trip, the first thing I saw was Audrey. She'd grown up quite a bit since the last time I saw her, and she was nearly as tall as I, at 5'2". She was happy too, her eyes smiling as soon as she saw me. "Hi, Auntie Rose," she said, giving me a huge hug. We'd never spoke about the accident or anything at that moment. I was just too happy to see her to bring stuff like that up. "Want to see my room?" I said, "Sure." As Harry was talking to Cassie in the kitchen, I headed upstairs. I walked into Audrey's bedroom to see a beautiful mural she'd done on the wall. It was gorgeous, beautifully rendered, showing a meadow with huge trees and animals of all kinds all over the wall. Audrey left me in there for a minute so she could grab her sketchbook. Cassie had taken her to Disney World while we were away, and she spent a lot of time sketching. While she was gone, I let myself finally feel how weird the house felt. It didn't feel like anyone was watching you, but you do better to watch your step. And here's where I made my second mistake. I noticed that part of the mural was hanging off and someone had tried to glue a piece of paper over it. I went over the corner and lifted up that piece. What I saw still makes me throw up. It was a drawing of a woman who looked like me hanging from a metal chain noose from a swing set at a playground. Under me was a drawing of Audrey holding another length of the metal chain and laughing. Underneath the entire drawing were the words, "Aunt Rose's death." "What are you doing?" Audrey's voice startled me and I stood up, turning around and hoping she didn't catch me. "Oh, there was a piece of wallpaper hanging off and I was sticking it back on," I said, as I was trying to sound casual, but I didn't know how well I did with that. "The mural was so pretty that I wanted to make sure it stayed together." "Oh, okay," she said. "Mom says it's time for dinner. I helped." The rest of the time I was at Cassie's house, I felt really uncomfortable. I tried to play it off, but my husband caught on and suggested that we leave as early as possible. Cassie and Audrey looked disappointed, but we reminded them that we'd be back for Audrey's birthday, which was in a few weeks. I have never been so happy to get away from my niece, but it wouldn't last. That night I got extremely sick. I mean, throwing up blood and bile, shaking so hard my husband couldn't keep me still. It got so bad that when my vision went and my throat began to close up, Harry bundled me into a car and took me straight to the hospital. When I woke up 5 days ago, the doctors told me that my food had been laced with antifreeze, and that if my husband hadn't taken me to the hospital, I would have died. Antifreeze. Right away I suspected Audrey, but I told myself that I was just being silly. I mean, she's about to be 11, still a kid, right? No way she'd want to kill me. But now, after everything that's happened in the last 2 weeks, I'm just not sure. No one else that night had gotten sick, just me. I usually have to make my own meals because I have food allergies and Cassie knows about them, which means that Audrey, who made my meal, should know about them too. But this wasn't an allergic reaction to a food. This was antifreeze. And here's another thing. Audrey has been sleepwalking from her house to my house. Every night for the last 2 weeks, one of us will find her either in the living room, in my office, and as of 3 nights ago, in our bedroom. And last night, Audrey had a hammer in her hand when I woke up to find her on my side of the bed. But Audrey never has a key on her when I find her. The alarm is never tripped. She never seems surprised that she's in our house. She doesn't seem to be fazed by anything. Now here comes the part where I ask for your advice. Cassie needs to go away for work. It's a big project, and she'll be gone for 4 days, coming home just in time for Audrey's birthday. The kid needs some place to stay. Harry volunteered us before I could say anything. He forgot that he's going to a conference in New York City for the week. I can't say no, taking care of my own niece, but I'm pretty sure she's trying to kill me. First the car accident, then that weird drawing, and now antifreeze. Cassie says that Audrey doesn't even know where that is, and they don't even have it in the house, so there's no way she did it. But she did do it. I know she did it. So what do I do now? Audrey's staying for 4 days, plenty of time for her to try something. I don't know what I can do without looking like I've lost my mind. I know this was long, and thanks for sticking until the end. I'll be sure to update you guys tomorrow if anything else happens. As always, we really appreciate the support from bizbin.com, which is an online auction house and marketplace. It's a community-based e-commerce marketplace that you guys should really check out. It launched very recently, last month, as a matter of fact. So this is a great time to start selling your items on there. See if you could find amazing bargains. I know I saw some things and bought some things that I was surprised at the fantastic bargains that are on there. So go check it out. Link is down below. Also, I want to say again, thank you for listening. Part 2 should be coming up really, really soon. As soon as I could record it, I will go ahead and post it for you guys. Please go down there and check that little like button and subscribe and ding the bell. Guys, I had a great time. Hope you enjoyed the story, and I'll see you shortly.